Yo guys, what is going on? It is Invin here, and today what I'm bringing to you guys is top 5 mistakes to not make in Lost Ark. And these are going to be really important points that if you get wrong, or maybe let's say you don't do correctly straight off the bat, then you could be missing out on a decent chunk of gold, a decent amount of progression, and ultimately wasting some time which you could save. Now, as always with these type of videos, it is personal preference on how you play Lost Ark, but the idea behind this video is hopefully to help some of you maximize your time in game, and if you want to kind of get the most out of your gameplay experience, do that with these tips. If there's things in this video you don't want to do, you don't have to take them all, but hopefully it just gives a bit of inspiration, if nothing else, towards a few of you in what you could be doing to maximize your time and your gameplay here in Lost Ark. Now, before we fully jump into today's video, if you are new to the channel, please do make sure that you drop a subscribe down below if you do go on to enjoy today's video and you would like to see more Lost Ark content, and don't forget to drop me a like as well. Without further ado, let's jump into it. The first thing here is going to be to do your Una's tasks. You can find these down at the bottom by going on to Adventure and then going up to Una's task, which is the second one, or you can simply press Alt and J together and it will bring up this menu. Now, for the purposes of this video, I have actually gone ahead and missed a few of these tasks, so you can see that you do get a rest bonus, and this is okay as long as it isn't maxed out. You haven't missed anything out of these tasks. But what you want to make sure you're doing these for is because they give you a very good reward. Now, they're quite fun for the first few times you do some of these. They've got quirky stories, and kind of cool little missions to go off and do on most of the islands, that type of thing. After that, some players find them annoying, some people like them. It really depends on what your playstyle is like. But there is a very good reason to make sure that you're doing both your daily and your weekly every time that you can. Now, what you'll see is when you get these, there is certain rewards. So, of course, one thing here, Harmony Shards, for example, if you're at Tier 1, these are a really good reward. You can also look at getting things like the Leap Stones, which are really good as well. And also, with this, there's some that give you a good amount of silver. And like you can see here, some Star's Breath, which increases the chance of success when you are honing. So, again, really useful things. Like I said, silver, when you're early doors, and like me right now, I've got 2 million silver for the point I'm at the game. That's pretty good. But once you get to Tier 3 and end game, you will see all of the expert players that have been playing for 2-3 years tell you you will need a lot of silver. So doing some of these ones for silver further down the line is going to be really good as well. Now, the reason, obviously, these want to be completed and you want to make the most out of these is for the Una's reward points and ultimately the Una's tokens which you get from them. These are given at each sort of milestone, if you like, down the side here. On the left, you can see 25, 35, 45, 55, and 70 points. Now, these are really, really good, and they do reset weekly. The reason you want to try and max these out is because you can actually swap these with the NPC on the map, as you can see in the top right, called the Gold Shop. Now, if you head over to the Gold Shop in the settlement that you are in, you can interact with this NPC and they will bring up this menu here for you. What you will then be able to do is purchase either a hefty gold sack, a small safe, or a large gold chest, depending upon how many Una's tokens you have. Now, you can hover over these, and for those players that don't know, if you click Control and right click and then click Chest Preview, you can actually go into a menu that will show you what each of these items are. So you can get gold, a regular gold just on its own. You can get a thick bar of gold, which is 1,000 ones consumed, and you can get a thin bar of gold, which is 100 ones consumed. That is from the first hefty sack. Small safe is exactly the same, but obviously you can expect higher chances to get those better things and a higher base amount of gold if you do just get the gold rather than the bars. And then finally in the chest, again, an increase to that base gold, but you also then have the chance at getting this giant gold bar, which is actually for 10,000 gold. So this is a really, really good thing and is super worthwhile. Personally, I'm saving 500 tokens up to be able to get the large one because then you've got at least the chance at that. But it's entirely up to you how and what you want to do with that. Just make sure that you're staying on top of them and don't let that rest bonus expire at the very least. Now, as a side note here as well, another reason this is good, like I said, you do need silver in endgame. You can actually swap gold for silver should you want to. I wouldn't recommend doing this because it's quite expensive for what you actually get, but there is that possibility on this tab as well, which I just wanted to make you guys aware of as a side note there. The next thing then to cover here is do not dismantle, sell and scrap everything that you don't want, as you could actually be missing a fair amount of gold. Some stuff, of course, is actually designed to be junk, which is literally just there to sell for silver, but certainly gear that you get might be worth keeping, and specifically on that note, what you will want to look out for is accessories. Now, for example, this is a really good high quality accessory. It's got 2 decent engraving effects on it, and it also has a good amount of stats on, but it is the tier behind what I am currently wearing. Same with this one here. This is decent, but it's not as good for me in terms of the engravings, so I keep it to the side. But what you can actually do is you can go ahead and sell these on the market, and often can make even 5 to 10 gold, which is something which you wouldn't have made if you just scrapped it down. Now, as you'll be able to see, some of these items do go up to a very high price when you look on the auction house. There is also some for a very low price, so it really does depend upon what you actually get and whether this can be sold for a decent amount. Generally, higher quality items with decent stats and good engraving effects are going to sell for more than ones with less. Really, you're going to be looking at the engraving effects first, then the stats, and also the quality. They all do affect the potency of the item, especially accessories, so you do want to get the highest in all of those, highest quality possible, whilst having the highest amount of stats possible, and those directly correlate. And then, of course, with good engraving effects as well, this is going to do really well. But if you just have one that's low quality with good engraving effects, these can still sell for a good amount. On the auction house as well, you will also see that gear is included. So if we have a look at some gear, there is things on there. Even tier 1 gear right now is being sold for a gold or 2 each. But do bear in mind, you do get a lot of this through just doing your chaos dungeons, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing this up until you get right up to tier 3. If there's something you're missing, then maybe. But generally, accessories are worth it if you need something, and that means players are going to buy them more often, so make sure you're making the most out of that one. The next thing here is don't pick your pet solely for aesthetics. Of course, that is an option, and if you want to do that, who am I to stop you? But there is a reason that I say it, and that is because each pet, or the pet color specifically, correlates to an element within the game which it represents. So for example, I made this mistake myself, so I'm bringing it to you guys from personal experience. You can see I have 3 fire-based pets here, 1 frost-based and 1 darkness-based pet. Now, these are really important to get different elements for, because they actually correlate to your stronghold quests. So for example, when you go to your station or your dock type area, when you send a crew on a mission, you can see obviously I have a crew out there right now, but if we click into this one here, for example, and click auto formation, you will see each of these missions has a different element which will help the adaptation score or the success rate go up if you combat it directly. So with this one, it is petrification and darkness. My darkness pet is currently out on this mission, so the only one that's put in is a fire pet, and this only gives 2%. The darkness would give much more. Again, if we move on to the next one, another darkness one, a frost one, if we put that in, you can see that pet actually gives plus 19%. So with, again, full decent crew and a right pet, you can get this adaptation, and therefore your success bonus up to the top. And as you can see there, it says the current mission's max adaptation rate is 150%. The higher the adaptation rate, the chance to get higher tier rewards is. So, of course, you want to get that up as much as possible, which means directly, if you are wanting to get the most out of your pets in this game, try to get one of each element so that they can fulfill these missions to the best of their abilities, and therefore increase the loot and rewards that you do get from them. The next thing here is going to be not neglecting your life skills. This is really important because they actually do make you a lot of money, which you will need to progress through each stage, whether it's by buying certain honing materials or, adding in those accessories, particularly when you get to tier 3, that will become more apparent. But a lot of people basically are lazy on this or don't want to do life skills, and that is where, if you don't neglect them, you can come in and make a good amount of profit off it, and then have yourself some gold to spend on whatever progression-wise you want to spend it on, or indeed mounts and pets if that's your thing as well. Additionally to this, as you progress to higher tier areas through the game, like for example the character I am playing right now in the background has actually just got to yawn, and you will see that there is nodes around here that require a minimum level of 20. So mining, I'm only on 13. I need to get that up to 20 to make the most out of this area, so that when you are progressing through areas, you can actually collect things as you go in and essentially have a sort of sideline passive income to whatever other tasks you are doing. Now, another really important point on the side of this is if you actually go to an area and hover over it on the main map like this, there is a trade skills section that pops up, and it will tell you which trade skills are going to be available to collect in that area. So, for example, this one is mining, trapping, fishing, and excavating. If you want to train any of those skills, you go to that area. You hover over another one. This one is herbalism, it's logging, and it's trapping. So again, if you want to do those skills, you go to that area. Now, like I said, as you progress through the game, once you hit tier 2, you will start to see a minimum level of 20 required for some nodes. So ideally, if you can be bothered to do it and you've got the time to do it, level yourselves up to 20 in each of your main skills that you want to gather for before you get to this area, or do it alongside as you go in, as there is iron ore, which just requires level 10 or above in mining, so you can start to progress that through getting higher tier materials. One way I like to determine which ones to level up is check the market price on the server. Again, if you go into the market and you actually type in certain items, you'll be able to see that some are worth way more than others. If we type in iron ore, for example, you'll see here the regular one is sold in units of 100 and is selling for 10 gold. The blue, which is the rarest drop, is sold in units of 10 and is also selling for 10 gold. And then the uncommon is sold in units of 10 and is selling for 2 gold. So if you manage to amass some of this as you're going around questing, you can see that quite easily and quite quickly you can build up a very good amount of extra gold. Another great one is herbalism. Generally, I like to check this out first because this is what players use to craft elemental HP potions and such of that nature, which you can use in, of course, your guardian raids. You can't use your regular pots. It has to be percentage HP ones. These materials are used to craft those, which means they're generally more expensive. Again, the common is sold in units of 100 and sells for 28 per 100, and the other two, the uncommon and the rare, are sold in units of 10 and are selling for 6 and 5 respectively. So again, you can see that these will net you a good amount of profit if you gather them as you are questing and progressing through the game as normal as well. Now, the final thing here is going to not be delaying in joining a guild. This is really important because there is a multitude of ways in which a guild helps you in Lost Ark. Of course, community aspect is at the core of any MMO, and this one is no exception. Now, there is some reasons you don't want to delay in doing it, which is why I phrased it like that. First one being, when you first join a guild, it takes you 3 days to gain full member status, which means you unlock access to the full array of guild functions and activities that can help you progress and earn your bloodstones, which is what the main reason for being in a guild is. So doing that as soon as possible will mean you can access the most amount of ways to increase your own personal progression as well as the progression of your guild as a whole. Now, like I said there, the main reason for doing this is because you want to get your bloodstones, and this of course is done through the guild. If you go up to the top and click on show currency, you can see right here that I have 8,847 bloodstones. You can acquire these by doing a guild donation. I recommend doing the silver one daily. You don't really want to do the gold one because it's a lot of money, and if you have any honor to distribute, you can do it. But the silver one daily gives the guild 50 bloodstones and gives yourself 50 bloodstones, as well as contribution, which you need to rack up a certain proportion, which will be individual for each guild. You can set the minimum level, and once that contribution level is reached per week, you will get a percentage of the total guild's bloodstones given out to you additionally, which is why it's really important. Further to this, if there's a research ongoing, you can click Aid Research and again do a regular support for 30 contribution and also 50 bloodstones. And this again can be done daily, again increasing the chances of getting up to that contribution threshold and getting additional bloodstones weekly, and also giving you 50 personal ones every time you do it, which is really helpful for yourself and for the guild. Now, somewhere in the settlement you are in, there will be the Simeal Bloodstone Exchange NPC. If you interact with them, it will show you what you are able to buy, and there is a multitude of items here, but most notably, you're going to be looking at the entrance tickets. These give you access to certain things like North Vern entrance ticket chest. It could be an entrance ticket to the cube or 25,000 silver, so it's a little bit of a gamble, but you can go ahead and do those. Again, here you've got entrance ticket to the Silent Hall, Elite Cube, or 30,000 silver for the Yawn chest, and so on and so forth. And most notably, the honing materials. This is really good to be able to get your hands on shards, fragments, anything of that nature that you might want to get, any stones, anything like that, and this can be done all the way up to tier 3. Now, what you will notice specifically here on the honing ones is you can get 1 per week from the start of a guild, and as the guild levels up, you will see here, purchase requirement of guild shop research level 2 or higher will unlock a second wave of being able to buy. So you can buy 1 by default for 80, and then once you unlock this second tier, you can get 2 for 70 each. and then eventually when you get to level 4 on this research, you can buy 3 more for 60 each. So they decrease in price the higher up you get, and you are able to access more of them, which is really good, and it does provide some incentive for building that guild up as a group as well to get that group objective higher to enable you to progress quicker and easier within the game. That point leads nicely into this last part of the guilds here, which is where you can see there is several researches you can do as you level up as a guild, which will then allow you to get higher access to better and more advanced things. And again, this is more of a group goal, but it is just a nice added bonus of being in a guild. If you are on the Terrain server, that is the one we are on, EU Central Terrain, you can go ahead and apply to Fabled if you'd like to join me in game. It'd be amazing to have some of you guys over here. We only have a couple of spots available right now, but if you do want to apply, and as we get further leveled up, we will then be able to accept more members, I would gladly like to have some of you guys in here as well. So if you are looking for a guild and you're on Terrain, feel free. But other than that, guys, that is going to be it for today's episode. So I do hope you've enjoyed and found this useful, or it's at least sparked some things in your head to remind you of, or that you've made your own opinions based on from this video, but at least it's helped you to get to that point, and hopefully maybe picked up on some things that you didn't already know or didn't think about in Lost Ark. If you have enjoyed, please do remember to drop a subscribe and a like on today's videos. It really does help to support me and my content here on the channel. Other than that, guys, that's going to be it. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you very shortly on another piece of content. Take care, guys, and peace.